The walls were white marble, polished so smooth they mirrored back every flicker of movement in the room. The table was long, made of dark oak, and at its head sat billionaire David Remington, 63, gray suit, power in his hands and silence in the room. He held a gold pen just inches above the signature line. His hand trembled slightly, not from weakness, but from the weight of what he was about to do. Across the table sat his lawyer, two witnesses, and his personal assistant, Pierce, all of them white, all of them watching him like hawks circling above a prize. The paper in front of him read, "Durable Power of Attorney." A simple line, one signature, and Pierce would legally control all his decisions, medical, financial, corporate, everything. The lawyer cleared his throat, gently nodding. Remington lowered his pen. Then came the voice. "Don't give it to her." Everyone froze. It wasn't loud, it wasn't shouted, but it cut clean through the tension like glass shattering in church. They turned. At the doorway stood a little black girl, 12, braids clinging wet to her forehead, her jacket soaked, her face calm. Her name was Amira. She didn't move. She just stood there. Behind her, a woman rushed in, Carla, her mother, dressed in a worn navy uniform, still holding a cleaning rag in one hand. Carla's eyes widened in horror. "Amira, what are you doing?" No one answered. The room stared. The billionaire's pen hovered in midair, frozen. Pierce leaned forward, voice dripping with mock concern. Who is she?" "She's just the maid's daughter," one of the witnesses whispered. Pierce smirked. "She doesn't belong here." Remington didn't speak. He was still staring at the girl. Amira's eyes never left his. Carla stepped forward, grabbing her daughter's arm. "I'm so sorry, sir. She didn't mean—" "She did," Remington said. His voice was quiet. Pierce blinked. "Sir?" He slowly placed the pen down, gaze fixed on the child. "What did you say?" he asked. Amira stood straighter. Her clothes were dripping onto the floor. She didn't fidget. She didn't flinch. "I said don't give it to her," she repeated. "Why?" the lawyer asked, his voice tightening. "She's not who you think she is," Amira said softly. Pierce scoffed. "This is ridiculous. She's just a child. And soaked, at that." But Remington wasn't looking at Pierce anymore. He was still staring at Amira. His face, usually unreadable, had started to shift, color draining slowly, mouth parted just slightly. Because something in her voice, something in her eyes. It wasn't just a warning. It was knowledge. Pierce stepped forward, defensive now. "Mr. Remington, let's proceed. She's a child. A drenched child who has no place in this room." He didn't respond. The billionaire reached out again for the pen, then stopped. Not to sign, to push the paper away. The room stayed frozen in silence. Amira's mother clutched her chest, whispering her daughter's name like a prayer. The billionaire looked at the document, then at the girl again. And finally, he asked, "What do you know?" Amira looked back at him and simply said, "Enough." And the pen never touched the paper. 2 months earlier, the estate was quieter, colder. The Remington property sat just outside the city, a gated fortress of wealth. The kind of place where maids moved like shadows, and secrets stayed buried under layers of silence. In the back wing, behind the garages and beneath the garden level, lived Carla and her daughter Amira. 1 bedroom, faded curtains, microwave dinners, and second-hand books. Carla worked 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, cleaning, folding, scrubbing bathrooms most of the world never saw. Amira didn't complain. She studied in silence, kept her head down, and read everything. But not fairy tales or school books. She read contracts, court forms, and old case files left behind by a visiting attorney who had once stayed at the estate's guest house. The man had been kind, forgotten a few folders. Amira kept them like treasure. She was 12, but her eyes moved across legal text like they'd been trained by fire. She knew the meaning of durable clause before she knew what algebra was. Every evening, Carla came home exhausted. Amira helped her undress, heated leftover rice, and rubbed lotion onto her mother's sore wrists. Carla would smile and say, "You're my little lawyer." Amira always smiled back. But one night, something changed. She was heading to the laundry room when she heard voices in the office wing. It was late. No one was supposed to be there. She peeked from behind the corridor arch. Ms. Pierce, Remington's assistant, stood alone, shuffling documents. She wore gloves. Amira watched her slip a white envelope into a locked folder marked Remington's signature only. Then she whispered into her Bluetooth earpiece, "Once he signs it, the medical control is mine. The house, too." Amira's heart skipped. She stepped back too fast. A floorboard creaked. Pierce turned. "Who's there?" Amira ducked behind the wall. Seconds passed. Silence. Then footsteps walking away. Amira waited until the lights went off. Then she ran. In their room, she told Carla everything. But Carla just sighed. "Baby, we don't speak on rich folks' business. That woman's been working with Mr. Remington for years. You think he'd trust her if she was bad?" Amira bit her lip. "She's hiding something." "Even if she is, we don't get involved." "But what if he signs something and doesn't know what it means?" "He's a billionaire, sweetheart. I doubt anything surprises him." That night, Amira didn't sleep. She took out the old case folders, looked up every word she didn't fully understand. Power of attorney. Incompetence declaration. Estate transfer without consent. And then she started connecting the dots. Pierce wasn't just assisting. She was preparing something, and it wasn't just for Mr. Remington. 2 days later, Amira found another envelope in the trash by the guest office, half burnt. She pieced it back together on their kitchenette table. The header read, "Medical Incompetency Evaluation, Carla Morris." Her mother's name. But Carla had never been evaluated. Amira's hands shook. The form claimed Carla had early signs of memory dysfunction, confusion, possible instability. A forged medical report. She ran to her mother, who had just come back from a double shift. "Did you sign anything recently?" "Just some insurance papers they said were needed for full-time status." "Did you read them?" Carla paused. "No, I didn't have time." Amira swallowed hard. She couldn't prove the signature was fake. But she knew one thing. This wasn't just about Mr. Remington anymore. It was about her mother. And if Pierce could do it once, she could do it again. A few days later, Amira watched from the hallway as Pierce entered the study, holding another folder. This time, Amira saw the heading before the door shut. Power of attorney. Draft signature copy. That night, Amira opened her notebook and wrote just 5 words, "Don't let her sign it." It was the beginning of something she never expected to finish. The morning sun cut across the estate like a blade, sharp and bright, but nothing felt warm. Carla had barely slept. The laundry had piled up, and her back ached from mopping the executive hallway. She didn't notice the white envelope slid under the door until Amira picked it up. It had no return address, just a message written in rushed pen. Meeting 10 a.m. Administrative Review, Office Level 3. Carla's hands trembled. What's this about? Amira was already reading the fine print. Her fingers traced the words as she whispered. It says, you need to review your employment file and sign medical clearance. Carla stared blankly. Medical? Amira looked up. You didn't request any review, right? Number never. Carla was nervous, but Amira pressed gently. Mom, please don't sign anything today. Carla nodded, but deep down she knew how this world worked. If you questioned too much, you disappeared. And she couldn't afford that. Rent, food, and Amira's school books depended on this job. At 10:01 a.m. sharp, Carla stood in front of the office, hair tied neatly, shoes polished. Ms. Pierce greeted her with a too-sweet smile. Carla, good to see you. This won't take long. Carla followed her into a conference room with 2 chairs, one already filled by an unfamiliar face, a white woman in a gray blazer with no name tag. This is Mrs. Klein from HR, Pierce said. She'll just verify a few things. Carla sat, silent. Pierce pushed forward a clipboard with 2 forms. Standard medical documentation. Just confirming you're able to safely perform duties. It's for your protection, too. Carla hesitated. Do I need a doctor for this? Pierce smiled. No need. It's just a formality. Legal backup. We do this with all our full-time staff now. Klein nodded without emotion. Just sign at the bottom. Carla picked up the pen. Her hands were dry, her mouth even drier. Meanwhile, down the hallway, Amira waited in the janitor's closet. She had overheard Pierce's morning phone call. She's desperate. She'll sign anything. Once that's filed, we're in the clear. Amira's heart pounded. She had written everything down. Dates, phrases, names. She stared at the small radio she had taped earlier under the table in the conference room. It was picking up faint sounds now. Static, then. Thank you, Carla. This ensures your compliance in the case of temporary memory loss. Amira's blood went cold. Compliance? She heard the pen scribble. Then silence. Amira dropped the notebook and ran. By the time she got to the office hallway, the door was already closing. Carla stepped out, looking confused. What did you sign? They said it was for insurance, sweetie. No, it wasn't. Amira rushed back to their room. She didn't cry. She didn't panic. She grabbed the burner phone she had secretly saved, a donation from an outreach group that passed through the city once. With shaky hands, she took a photo of the trash bin outside the office. There it was, a copy of Carla's signed form. Amira zoomed in. Her mother's signature was there, but the document title read, Notice of Cognitive Impairment. Temporary Waiver of Legal Consent. It was real. They were setting Carla up to be declared legally unfit. And next in line to make decisions? Ms. Pierce. Amira printed everything, stored it in her backpack, and waited. That night, she listened again at the hallway corner. The voices were clear. Once I have Carla under evaluation, it's only a matter of days before the estate's legal trustee gives me authorization. But what about the old man? A voice asked. He's signing the POA tomorrow. The minute that's done, it's all mine. Amira's breath hitched. Tomorrow. She had less than 24 hours. She couldn't call anyone. No one would believe her. She was just a poor black girl who lived in the servant wing. She didn't even go to the estate school. But she had proof. She had eyes that saw. And she had the courage her mother didn't think she inherited. Amira opened her backpack. She took out the copy of Carla's waiver. And then she sat at the tiny kitchen table. Under a single flickering bulb, she scribbled one final plan. She would walk into that meeting, even if they told her she didn't belong, even if they laughed at her. She wasn't going to let a signature bury her mother, not while she was breathing. The office was silent when Amira stepped in. No one had heard her come through the heavy front door. Her shoes left a trail of water on the polished marble, but she didn't care. Her hands clutched her backpack straps like they were anchors. Her clothes were soaked through. Rain still dripped from her braids. The billionaire, David Remington, had the pen in his hand. Just inches from the signature line. Just seconds from signing over every decision to the one person Amira knew should never have that power. Don't give it to her! All heads turned. The room was full. 2 white witnesses. 1 high-profile lawyer. Ms. Pierce, standing beside the billionaire like she owned the air around him. And now, a 12-year-old black girl standing in the doorway. Her mother, Carla, stood behind her, eyes wide in horror. She hadn't known her daughter followed her here. She hadn't expected this. Pierce was the first to break the silence. Who is she? The lawyer frowned. Security? She's the maid's daughter, Pierce muttered. She needs to leave, now. But Amira didn't move. Remington slowly lowered his pen. His eyes locked on the girl, a crease forming between his brows. What did you say? He asked. I said, don't give it to her, Amira replied, calm as ever. Pierce let out a dry laugh. Mr. Remington, this is absurd. She's a child. She doesn't even know what she's saying. But Remington ignored her. His hand dropped the pen onto the table. Amira stepped forward, dripping water with every step. She made my mom sign something she didn't understand, she said. It was supposed to be for insurance, but it was to declare her mentally unfit. Everyone froze. Carla gasped behind her. That's not true, Pierce snapped. Amira reached into her backpack and pulled out a plastic folder. She slid it across the table toward the lawyer. Inside, a crumpled document, reprinted and highlighted in yellow. The lawyer picked it up, adjusted his glasses, and read. Slowly. Where did you get this? He asked. The trash can outside the back office. She didn't think anyone would notice it. The lawyer's expression changed. Pierce moved forward quickly. She's making this up. You can't seriously believe... Quiet, Remington said. He turned to the lawyer. What does it say? The man cleared his throat. It's a declaration of temporary incompetence, signed by Carla Morris, filed yesterday. Carla covered her mouth. Pierce's face turned red. She signed it willingly. She didn't know what it was, Amira said sharply. She didn't even get to read it. The room held its breath. Remington leaned back slowly in his chair. His eyes never left Pierce now. You told me she had early memory issues, he said coldly. I was protecting the household. No, he cut in. You were protecting yourself. Pierce looked at the lawyer. You can't take her word over mine. I've been here for 14 years. Remington didn't answer. Amira opened her folder again. This time, she slid over another document. A faxed copy of a form from a year ago. Same signature format. Same forged writing, but different name. "I found this too," she said. "It's not the first time she's done this." The lawyer's face tightened. He whispered something to the assistant beside him, who immediately started taking photos of the documents. Pierce was shaking now. "This is ridiculous. I'm calling security." "Call them," Remington said. "Let them see this too." Amira took one more step forward. "She was going to trap you the same way she trapped my mom." Pierce shouted, "I was protecting your assets." Amira said quietly, "You were stealing them." Remington looked back at the form, then at the pen on the table, then at Amira. "You said your mom signed it yesterday?" "Yes," Amira said. "She didn't understand it?" She thought it was insurance paperwork." He stared at the signature line one last time. Then he picked up the form in front of him, the power of attorney, and tore it in half. Pierce gasped. "You're making a mistake." "No," Remington said. "I almost did." Amira didn't smile. She didn't move. She just watched. And for the first time in that office, the person with the least power was the one everyone was listening to. Word spread through the estate like wildfire. By noon, the Billionaire's legal team had launched a full internal review. Ms. Pierce was ordered to step away from all duties. Her office was sealed, her company laptop confiscated. She didn't take it well. "This is harassment," she snapped at the lawyer. "You're letting a child dictate billion-dollar decisions?" Remington didn't respond. He only said, "We'll let the facts speak." Carla sat in a side room, clutching a tissue, her hands trembling as a young legal intern helped her fill out a sworn statement. She looked like someone who had just come up for air after nearly drowning. Amira sat beside her, quiet but alert. Two white men in suits walked in with clipboards and badges, internal compliance officers from Remington Holdings. They didn't even glance at Amira. But then one of them said, "We've reviewed the copies she submitted. The handwriting doesn't match Carla's known signature from HR files." Amira finally spoke. "She wears gloves when she forges. Less fingerprint transfer." One of the officers raised an eyebrow, impressed. "Where'd you learn that?" Amira answered, "Crime documentaries. And one real life." They kept asking questions. Dates, names. Amira answered everyone. Clear. Director. Calm. She wasn't just a child anymore. She was the whistleblower. That afternoon, Pierce tried to slip back into her office, but security stopped her at the hallway. "You can't be serious," she hissed. "I built this place." A calm security officer replied, "You'll need to wait outside for legal instructions." Pierce turned, and for a second, her eyes locked with Amira's. "You think you've won?" she snarled. Amira didn't flinch. But you're not going to win either." Inside the boardroom, Remington sat with two lawyers and the head of compliance. Papers were spread across the long mahogany table. Copies of forms, emails, internal memos. "This girl is 12, one lawyer said. "But what she uncovered? This isn't just one forged signature." Another lawyer added, "We found at least 3 cases where documents were altered under Pierce's supervision. All minorities, all without legal backup." Remington leaned back slowly. "And no one noticed?" "They trusted her, just like you did." He exhaled. "Not anymore." In a side hallway, Carla turned to Amira and whispered, "How did you know what to say?" Amira replied, "You always said I was watching everything. I just started writing it down, too. Remington stepped out of the meeting and walked directly to them. He looked at Carla first. You've been working here, how long? 14 years, sir. Starting today, your contract is protected under full-time executive service status. You'll never sign a paper again without full legal review. Carla's eyes filled with tears. She nodded slowly, unable to speak. Then he turned to Amira. Where did you learn all this? She hesitated. My dad. He used to help people fill out court forms at a community center. He passed 2 years ago. I'm sorry, Remington said, but I think he'd be proud. She didn't respond. He added, We're offering you a full academic scholarship, wherever you go. Law school, if that's what you want. Carla gasped. Amira looked up. Can my mom get a day off first? He smiled. You both can. Meanwhile, 2 compliance officers entered Pierce's former office with evidence bags and gloves. One whispered, There's a burner phone in her drawer. She was sloppy. She was arrogant. By the end of the day, Remington's media team had drafted a press statement. We're currently investigating internal misconduct related to unauthorized legal filings. We thank the brave individuals who helped uncover the truth. They didn't name Amira. But inside the estate, everyone knew who stopped the pen. Ms. Pierce's world crumbled faster than she could imagine. That very morning, after the press statement leaked, she was called into a formal meeting with the company's top executives and legal counsel. The air was cold, the room sterile. You are suspended indefinitely, the CEO declared, pending federal investigation. Pierce's face twisted in disbelief. You can't do this. I've managed this estate for over a decade. I have powerful connections. The lead lawyer replied calmly, Those connections won't protect you from forged documents and fraud. Word of her suspension spread quickly throughout the elite circles. The whispers started. Questions about her integrity, her past dealings, the strange disappearances of staff members who dared to question her. Federal agents arrived at her doorstep within days. They confiscated computers, cell phones, and dozens of files, each item meticulously examined for proof of corruption. Meanwhile, Carla's job security was guaranteed. The company not only restored her full employment status, but also increased her pay and benefits. It was an unspoken acknowledgement of the hardship she endured. Remington himself issued a rare public apology to Carla and her daughter. A private meeting was arranged to discuss reparations and new policies to protect all estate staff from exploitation. A scholarship fund was established, specifically aimed at helping underprivileged youth, especially girls like Amira, pursue law and justice careers. Amira was named the inaugural recipient. The media frenzy was intense. Headlines screamed, Black girl outsmarts billionaire's assistant. Courage over corruption. The power of one child. Justice served at the estate. Interviews flooded in, but Amira remained humble. She always redirected praise to her mother and the memory of her late father. When reporters asked how she had the strength to fight such a powerful system, Amira simply said, I wanted my mom to be seen. That's all. In the evenings, the estate felt different. There was a quiet respect in the air, a subtle shift in how the staff carried themselves, no longer invisible, no longer afraid. Ms. Pierce faced mounting legal battles and lost many former allies. But the real victory was the change in the estate's culture. Because one young black girl had refused to be silenced, and in doing so, she had changed everything. The sun was setting over the estate, casting long shadows across the manicured lawns. Amira sat quietly on a stone bench near the garden, her wet shoes resting on the cool marble. David Remington approached slowly, his usual confident stride softened by something new: respect. He stopped beside her, holding a thick envelope sealed with the company's crest. He sat down without a word, placing the envelope gently on the bench. Amira looked up, surprised. Inside the envelope was a handwritten apology. Careful, thoughtful words, acknowledging the wrongs committed, and the courage it took to speak up. There was also a letter offering Amira an internship with the estate's legal team, a chance to learn and grow under top attorneys, and a personal note from Remington himself. "Your voice changed the course of my legacy. Thank you." Amira didn't smile. Not yet. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, worn photograph of her father, a man who had taught her to stand tall and speak truth. "My dad would have been proud," she whispered. Remington nodded, understanding the weight of those words. Carla appeared nearby, carrying 2 cups of tea. She sat beside them, eyes glistening with tears of relief and pride. No speeches were made, no grand celebrations, just quiet strength, a moment of peace after the storm. And in that stillness, a single truth settled in. One small voice can stop a giant. One brave girl can change everything.